Hello there, welcome to High Point Music. My name is Lewis and today's video is my quick start guide to the Line 6 HX Stomp. In today's video I'm going to show you how to go from a blank preset out of the box to something you could be jamming with and geeking with in say 10 minutes. And if you're playing along at home, you've got your own Line 6 Helix product or you'd like to download it, you'll be able to use this preset to build your own rigs around, help you get there a little bit faster so you can get on with the show. So step one of building your own little fly rig is to subscribe to our channel. It's a great way to let us know you're appreciating the content. And if you want to help support the channel, you can do so by following those links below. We do get a little kickback from those purchase links and it helps us to continue to put out good content as frequently as we possibly can. So thank you very much for checking that out. Let's dive into what should be step number two now that you have already subscribed. So step number two is to plug in and make sure our audio connections are what they should be. Because we're intending to be able to run direct out of the Line 6 product into a recording system, PA system or powered speaker, I'm going to run it as a direct rig. So that involves plugging my guitar into the mono or left input here on the back of the pedal. We're going to run another guitar cable out of the left or mono output into the line level input of your audio system, mixing desk, recording unit, whatever you might be having to use. And then we're going to make sure that our audio settings are correct for that application. So to ensure that our audio level settings are correct, we go into our global menu by pushing both of these page buttons together at once. We scroll across one page and then push this button to access the globals. Now the very first menu here, you can see you can scroll through a few menus. The first menu here is called ins and outs. We want to make sure that our input level, which is our instrument level here on the back, our instrument connection, I should say, is set to instrument level because it's an instrument, it's not an audio device like a synthesizer or something like that. Our output connection, you can choose instrument level or our line level output. Because we're running direct in, we want to make sure it's line level. That ensures that the mixing desk gets a signal it can work with at a level it can work with. We're not going to be using these effects loops, so the scroll through settings here are not currently relevant. The other relevant setting I think you should be checking is to go over here to the foot switches menu, and you want to make sure that foot switch 3, its function is set to be a tap tempo and tuner, and that allows us to make sure that we've got a mute switch and a tuner available at any time on our pedal board. That's our global setting. So now I know that works. Now I know we've got some signal coming through. You dial up any preset. And I know that the sound engineer is going to get an audio setting he can work with. So step number 3 is to clear all the presets. So this is an important function because you don't want to have to be fiddling with anything you don't need. Keep it simple to start with. To clear a setting, you just go into your edit menu by pushing the home button, and then you push action, scroll over here with one page, and then you get the clear all blocks option. Press this button and then OK to confirm. And now we have a completely blank effects block. The first thing I would always add is an amplifier. It's going to be the most important part of your sound. You can get away with just a clean or a dirty amp at most gigs, so this will be a good one to just pay a bit of attention to. We pick an amplifier by going into our menu, scroll down here to amp and cab. I'm picking an amplifier and a cabinet together because it keeps it simple. I don't have to worry about using excessive blocks. So we're going to go guitar. Now I'm going to choose an amplifier I'm familiar with, an amplifier I know I can get a good clean tone out of. I'm going to pick the California 4 Rhythm 1, which is based on a Mark Series Mesa Boogie. I am choosing this amplifier because I know they have a great clean tone and because they have a graphic EQ. Here at the end, you can see there's 80 Hertz pops up there, 240, 750, 220. Sorry, 2200, not 220, and then 6600 Hertz. So that gives me the ability to tweak my EQ a little bit finer than the amp's onboard EQ, but doesn't take up an extra effect block. So I think that's a pretty useful amount of space for me to be occupying. Now, for a platform that's clean, I would always dial up my master volume. Let's push that a little bit higher, up to about a 9. We're going to dial our channel volume up a little bit as well to about an 8. And I'm going to pull my drive down just a little bit. I'm doing this because I'm going to throw an overdrive pedal in. And so a clean platform is a really, really good place to start. At the moment, I don't have any qualms about the EQ, but a quick check of your pickups. Will indicate if you need to make any changes. Making less setting adjustments when you're first starting is probably a good thing to do. Every preset, be it an amplifier or an effects block that comes out of this unit, has already been tweaked by Line 6 to sound pretty good to start with. So keep it simple and don't make too many adjustments unless you need to. So that gives me my clean tone. Let's save that by pushing the view and action buttons. And I'm going to save this preset all the way over to preset 7 just by scrolling through here. And I'm going to hit save. Now that means that preset number 7 is now just a clean Mesa Boogie tone. So now we've got a clean amplifier channel. That would be enough to get most people started, but if you want to throw a few other colors into your tone mix, this is what I would start with. A room reverb is a very good thing to have, particularly if you're maybe rehearsing with headphones or some close monitors. By adding a little bit of space by using reverb, it'll make it sound like an amplifier in the room, and less like an amplifier in a box running direct into the PA. For the purpose of a cool reverb sound, I would always pick a plate reverb. The plate reverb that is in the effects block sounds pretty jolly good. It's in the legacy menu. So we go to plate here. So you can hear it adds a fair bit of space. Now one thing I would do is I would go over here and I'd pull my high frequency cut. So what this is going to do by lowering this, it's going to lower the frequency of treble that gets cut out. So by dialing this high cut down to about 2.5 kilohertz, it allows our reverb tails to sort of sit a little further in the background so they can go for a little bit longer and not be as intrusive on your playing as a higher frequency. The mix setting is the other setting that I think is really worth making note of. Most effects parameters will have this mix, and you'll hear that between say 50 and 20%, you can really change that reverb or other effect from being quite bold to being quite subtle. And it means you don't need to worry about any of these other settings just by tweaking that mix one. So very simple to use and very handy to be aware that most of those effects will have them. It's one of the positives I see about an effect like this is you have those extra bits of control that make it faster for you to get from programming to playing, and that's a good thing. So the next most effective sound block that I think you could use in a rig is going to be an overdrive pedal. So we're just going to scroll over to in front of our amplifier block. I'm going to pick the second from the beginning and menu down to distortion to pick an overdrive. Now this choice would depend on the style of music you're playing. If you're playing something heavy, you'll go for something that's more gain. If you're not sure what you're doing, start with less gain and you can increase it down the track. Personally, I would pick the Vermin Drive. The Vermin Drive here is a copy of the Proco Rat and gives us a really well-rounded distortion that goes from a mild overdrive to a pretty heavy distortion, making it quite versatile. The first thing I would do is dial my gain down, like so. And about that sort of 1 to 2 on the gain pod and 6 to 8 on the filter seems to give me a pretty good option for my tone. So I'm going to leave it there for now and I'll come back and tweak that as I need to. So we get an overdrive, we get our reverb. The next effect I would add to a rig would give us a little bit of space. So personally I'm going to choose a delay, because I really don't have any rigs that don't use delay. I think they're very functional and allow me a lot of sounds to cover different types of music. So I'm going to jump in here and I'm going to pick the delay blocks, and then I normally would scroll through and find something. A good way to scroll if you're not sure at this point, pick any block and then just use this menu button here to find something you like. Now, I quite like the Bucket Brigade delay. But I'd probably have a bit more time than that. And again, it comes back to our mix control. Let's pull that down to about 35%. And at about that 35% point on the mix, the delay is going to accent your playing when you stop, but you'd still play over the top of those delay tails, and it doesn't hinder the notes you're trying to play. So a basic delay setting gives you a little bit of space. I think that's a very useful effect. Now you might want to run a little bit of a different effect in there. You could throw a modulation in, maybe a chorus or a phaser or something. Again, that's very simple to add as a block. You just scroll through, grab your modulation, and then find something in there that you want to use. Let's have a look at script mod phase. So that'll be based on the MXR phaser. That 10% mix mark is going to be a very subtle phaser setting. I think that's a good thing. It allows you to use it pretty quickly and make sure that you're going to get a tone you can use that's not going to jump out and give everyone a fright once you stomp on that foot switch. Speaking of foot switches, we want to be able to access as many of these settings as we need to at the touch of a button. And in order to do that, all you need to do is pick the pedal you want to assign, gently touch the foot switch until your assign menu comes up, and hit OK. That means that now my overdrive pedal is assigned to this foot switch. And let's say our delay is the other thing we want to be able to turn on and off because it can affect our rhythm. So we're going to touch and hold, assign block comes up, we hit OK. So now you've got your overdrive settings dialed in, you've got a delay, a little bit of modulation. That should get you through most gigs. I definitely would choose a heavier distortion if you were looking at playing something in a heavier style of music, but also the Mark IV Mesa Boogies are capable of quite a bit of gain as well, so there's a few things there you could do to tweak and change it to your own liking. So a quick little tip on picking effects blocks and settings. The effect block you pull out of the menu has already been saved to a preset or a set of tones that should sound pretty good to start with. And by focusing on things like time for tempo of the song and the mix, you shouldn't need to go too far into menu diving to be able to pull something out. And as always, less is more. So if you don't need to change a setting, don't go menu diving. If you're looking for some advice on how to get a good sound out of it and you're in a bit of a sticky situation, and you don't have time to spend an hour in the rehearsal room going through it, get to the gig or get to your rehearsal a little bit early, ask a friend, ask a sound engineer. I'm sure they would all be very happy to help you sound as good at the gig or the practice as they possibly could. And sometimes that little bit of learning is a good thing to do from somebody with different experience. Alternatively, as I mentioned in my whether to buy a HX Stomp video, you could jump onto the Line 6 forums, spend a bit of time there chatting to people. I'm sure there'd be plenty of suggestions on amplifiers and settings to use once you've sort of found your footing in the effects you like to use. A big part of being able to have something you can use very quickly is being able to access it quickly. These pedals have over 100 presets, and so you need to know which one you go to start it. Oh, quick, play a show. Okay, dial it up and go. So I've already saved this patch starting out here on 007, but I've changed a fair few of the settings. So what I want to do is when I save it this time, I'm going to use these character buttons to rename the patch. So I like using this dir colon description that lets me know that it is dialed to be run direct into a PA system, but archetype clean it isn't relevant for this amplifier sound anymore. So I'm going to change the characters, and I'm just going to call this Mark IV. Let's give me a capital K. Scroll over to my numbers, space. Now normally if there's nothing dedicated about what I'm using this setting for, I like to name it after the amplifier and guitar I've tuned it up. If you have a silly amount of guitars, this is a great way to keep track of what settings are best suited to which instruments. So for this purpose, I'm going to call this Mark IV S100. Style that there, S100. And I don't really need to use these end characters, so if I just push this character button a few times, it'll give me a blank space. Oop, oop, and this one. So now I have DII for direct, Mark IV for the amplifier, and S100. Let's hit save. Now that gives me overdrive, delay, reverb, and a good amp sound. In a setting, I know what it is, I know which guitar it suits, I know I can run it direct, I know my output levels are running properly, I know I've got a little bit more room here on my master volume that allows me to tweak it to the show as needed. Not something you should adjust without checking with a sound guy if you're playing a show, but very handy to have just a little bit more volume there on tap. So now you've got that saved, you've got some settings there you know sound good, and you've got a little bit of volume here to work with and a tuner. That should give you a rig you can take to any gig and start playing very, very quickly, or you could throw this video on 10 minutes before a show and dial an amp sound up very, very quickly to get out of the box playing, get away from the learning curve of menu diving and be more about doing what we love, which is playing the guitar. You can check out this video programming your own device to get your own settings, or you can hit up the members area and download this preset yourself and tweak it to your own liking. If you make some cool sounds with it, we'd love to see those. Make sure you tag us in any social media. I'd love to hear what sounds you're making with the Line 6 HX Stomp. I enjoy it quite a bit, and I think for the ability to dial something up very quickly and get a good sound out of fast, in this instance, even if it's just for a bit of practice at home, but you want to rock out while you practice, a fantastic piece of kit to do so. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Give us some support by the links below in the description, and get out there and get playing. Thank you for watching.